Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome to our 23rd lesson of our simplified Tajweed series, which is a series of Tajweed lessons introduced by Quran University uniquely designed Quran learning management system with the purpose of introducing Tajweed in a modern and easy approach. Through this series of lessons, you will be introduced to Tajweed rules using a unique, modern and innovative approach to teach Tajweed that utilizes the color codes of Mushaf al-Tajweed as a common denominator that links those lessons to Tajweed rules. With such approach, we aim to make the understanding of Tajweed rules much easier and to practically help you to apply those rules while reading the Quran. In this lesson, we're going to cover two types of the secondary med due to Hamza, where we're going to cover the separated med and the attached med. In our Quran learning management system, whether we're using the desktop version or the mobile version, in both cases, we use the Ottoman script of Medina Mus'haf with Tajweed color codes, which we call قواعد ألوان التجويد or Tajweed color legend, where every Tajweed rule is given a unique color code. 4 of these 8 colors are related to Tajweed rules related to med, elongation, أحكام المد. And let's take a deeper look at these colors and look at an example of the natural med, the original med. Kana, the alif of kana here, this alif is given the color black, indicating that it has no special treatment. It's not extended beyond the natural. It's given only 2 units of lengthening and thus remained in black. Associated with it is the alif of istata'u. This alif is given a light brown color, although it's only lengthened for 2 units like the natural med in order to show this small alif, and thus it is associated with the natural med. The remaining 3 colors are related to the secondary med, which can either be caused by a sukoon as the waw of yubsirun here, and that is given an elongation of an average of 4 extending from 2 to 6 units, or caused by a hamza like the alif in nasha, which is given a mandatory elongation for 4 to 5 units. Now there is also one more type of the secondary med, which is called the compulsory med, and we'll show it at a later stage. Let's concentrate on this bright red color, and let's look at this page of Quran and find some examples of that color. We'll find here nasha, the alif here is harful med, is the med letter, followed by a hamza within one single word. And the rule here is mandatory elongation for 4 to 5 units. And the reason for this rule is that the med and the hamza came in one word, and that's why we call it the attachment. They are attached to each other within one word. Now let's take another example of the same color, but we find 2 different words. This, تكلمنا أيديهم. The a is in one word, the end of the first word here, and the hamza follows the med letter, but in a second word. And the rule here is to perform elongation, med, for 4 units. And since those 2 words are separated, and the med and the hamza occurs in 2 words, as we see here, we call this the separated or the detached med. But notice that we have hidden here the word mandatory, wajib, from the med rule. We have hidden that because of a reason that we'll describe here. We've just learned that in Mushaf al-Tajweed there is a one color used for both the separated med and the attached med, and that is the bright red color. So if we take an example of the attached med, al-mad al-muttasil, as in nasha, we'll find that the alif is given this bright red color. And the rule of Tajweed, hukm al-Tajweed, is that it is mandatory to elongate this alif for 4 to 5 units. But when it comes to the separated med, when we have the med in 2 words, the a, tukallimuna, aydihim, the hamza coming in a different word, in this case it is not mandatory to perform the med, it is optional. We can perform it, we can say وَتُكَلِّمُنَا أَيْدِيهِمْ, where we elongate the a for 4 to 5 units. So we say نشاء مد واجب ل4 حركات, a mandatory elongation for 4 units. As in the case of the attached med, And that's why we can give it the same color in Mus'haf al-Tajweed, so it will be easier to remember both because of the similarity between them. Yet it is optional to keep it not lengthened and keep it shortened at 2 units, since both options has been narrated from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where some recitations, riwayat, recites al-mad al-munfasil, the separated mad, with a lengthening option, similar to that of the attached mad, while other recitations, other riwayat, including riwayat Hafsan and Asim, the most famous and widespread riwayah, recites it with a shortening option. In this lesson, you'll understand the reasons of the secondary mad and learn the types caused by the hamza, the separated and the attached mads, and then learn the tajweed rules of both, and take example on each, and apply tajweed rules on each, and then practice what we have learned by extracting cases of both the separate mad and the attached mad from the Quran. But before we proceed with today's lesson, let's revise what we have learned in the previous introduction to mad about the different types of vowel lengthening, different types of mad. We've mentioned that there is a primary mad, which is lengthened naturally for 2 units, and anything that is lengthened beyond 2 units is called secondary mad. And we have mentioned that the primary mad itself has similar mads that are associated with it. There is the exchange, substitute, and lesser connecting mads, 3 types of mad in addition to the primary, while the secondary mad is further classified under 2 categories based on what causes the lengthening beyond natural, where it can be caused either by a hamza or by a sukoon. Those that are due to hamzas are 3. They are the attached, separated, and greater connecting mad. Those that are due to sukoon are basically the compulsory mad, the incidental sukoon mad, and the soft lean mad. So we've learned that there are 9 types of mad, and we learned also that some scholars would also add a 10th type. They call it the differentiation mad, while other scholars consider this type as a subdivision of the compulsory mad. So they are either 9 or 10 in total. And in the introduction of mad, we also talked about the colors association for the different types of mad, and we said that there are 4 colors given to the mad among the 8 colors used in Tajweed color legend in Mus'haf al-Tajweed. And yet we mentioned that the primary mad and its associated exchange and substitute are not given any of these unique colors. It's given only the black color, which is the natural color given for the normal script, because the vowels in these types of mads are expected to be naturally lengthened, not more than the natural 2 units of any vowel. One more type of mad is also associated with the primary. It is the lesser connecting because it is extended for the same period of the primary, which is 2 units. So if you see a vowel written in black or brown, you should elongate it for only 2 units. Now, anything other than that, these 3 colors, would be secondary mad. So whatever is due to hamza is given the mandatory elongation of 4 to 5 units and given this red color. And the incidental sukoon and its cousin, the soft lean, are given the orange color, which is expected to be lengthened for an average of 4 units, ranging from 2 to 6. Now, the compulsory and differentiation are given the dark red, where it is compulsory to elongate those 2 types of mads for 6 units. Now in this lesson, we're going to concentrate only on the attached and the separated mads caused by the hamza among the types of secondary mad. And both mads are given the color bright red in Mus'haf al-Tajweed. So the separated and attached mads are types of secondary mad that are extended more than 2 units, and they are both due to hamza. The example of the attached mad as in nisha, and the definition, it occurs when the hamza follows the mad letter, follows the a in the same word. And the tajweed rule, it's mandatory to elongate this mad vowel for 4 to 5 units, and this cannot be shortened. The separated mad example is tukallimuna aydihim. It occurs when the mad letter is the last letter of the word, as in the word tukallimuna, mad letter is the last, and the hamza is the first letter of the following word. The hamza is the first letter of aydihim. And the rule, the tajweed rule, is to allow optional elongation for 4 units, and it's optional for the reciter to lengthen it or shorten it. Let's take examples of the attached mad. First example related to the alif. The vowel is the alif, as in yasha. In yasha, we'll find that there is a mad letter, the a, followed by the hamza in the same word. So we pronounce it with a mandatory elongation, yasha. Second example is related to the waw, tabu'a. In tabu'a, we have the waw followed by the hamza in a single word, and al-hukm, the rule is to extend it. It is mandatory to lengthen the waw for 4 to 5 units. Tabu'a. Next example is related to the ya, yudi. Yudi, the harf al-maddi, the ya, with the hamza in the same word, and the rule is to extend the ya for 4 units, mandatory elongation. Yudi. Now we're going to practice extracting the attached mad and conclude the related tajweed rule from the shaded verses of the Quran. Remember that the attached mad is given the color bright red, and the attached mad letter is in red, and it's mandatory to elongate it for 4 to 5 units. First example is nasha. Nasha is a attached mad, the hamza and the a in the same words, and the rule is mandatory elongation for 4 units. Nasha. Second example is ma. Afara'aytumul ma. The alif here, the harf al-mad, the vowel, is followed by the hamza within the same word, and the rule is a mandatory elongation for 4 to 5 units. Al-ma. Again, nasha is another example in the same verse. Now we'll take examples of the separated mad, and we'll start with the alif. Aba ahadin. We find that the a is in one word, and the hamza is in the next word. So this is a separated mad, so it's optional for it to extend it for 4 units. Aba ahadin. Or we keep it shortened for 2 units and we say Aba ahadin. Now the next example is related to the waw. Qu anfusakum. We again remember that the alif here is written but it's not pronounced, so it's not quwa, it is qu. Qu anfusakum. So we have the waw at the end of the first word and the hamza at the beginning of the second word. It's an example of separated mad, and the rule is optional extension or lengthening for 4 units. We can say qu anfusakum, or keep it shortened for only 2 units. We say qu anfusakum. The third example is related to the ya. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ. Fi, ya, at the end of the first word, followed by a hamza at the beginning of the second. It's an example of separated mad. Now, we have a choice of extending the ya for 4 units, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ, or we can simply shorten it to 2 units only and say وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ. Now, we're going to practice again extracting the separated mad from this verse and try to conclude the related tajweed rule. Remember again, it is giving the same color, but it's not mandatory to elongate. It's an optional elongation for 4 units. First example is اعلموا أنما. We can say اعلموا أنما or اعلموا أنما. Second example is related to الدنيا إلا. We have the alif at the end of الدنيا followed by the hamza in the second word. Now it's optional for us to either elongate for 4 units and say الدنيا إلا, or say الدنيا إلا 2 units, shorten to 2 units or extended for 4 units, and apply the bright red color rule. And before conclusion, we'll raise an alert related to the special scripting of the Quran utilizing the Uthmani script, where Ya'un Nida, especially ya used for calling, and let's look at an example utilizing Ya'un Nida, such as in Ya Ayyuha, where there is an alif at the end of the Ya and followed by a hamza at the beginning of the following word, Ayyuha. And another example, Ya Uli. Notice that these 2 words can be scripted in Quran as if they are one word, like this, with a small alif on the Ya. So this appears as it is in the single word of Ya Ayyuha, but in reality there are originally two words. Similarly, Ya Uli could be written scripted in Uthmani script as if it looks as it is in one word, but in reality it's originally two words. And similar to those are basically the notification ha. It's a ha used for notification. Ha antum. There is an a at the end of the ha, and there is a hamza at the beginning of the antum. And although they are two words, it might look in Quran as if it is ha antum, as if it is one word. Now, this appearance as if it is one word may make us think that it is an attached med. But in reality, the med of the a in these three words is a case of separated med, because they are originally two separated words. So in this case, we should apply the Tajweed rule of the separated med, meaning that it is optional to apply the med here. Similar to the ha antum, there is ha at-tanbih, ha umu. It is in reality one word, but it might look in the Quran manuscripts as if it is ha umu, as if it is two words, making the reader think separated med rule is to be applied, while in reality it should be the attached med rule, because it is originally a single word. So we have to apply the attached med rule of mandatory elongation for 4 to 5 units. And now we're going to summarize the whole lesson in a single slide. We said that the attached med happens when the hamza follows the med letter in the same word, while the separated med happens when the med letter is the last letter of the word and the hamza happens to be the first letter in the following word. The Tajweed rule for the attached med is to apply mandatory elongation of the vowel for 4 to 5 units, while the med, the elongation in the case of the separated med, is optional, where the vowel could be lengthened for 4 units or could be kept short at 2 units only. It is the same color given for both meds in Mushaf al-Tajweed color legend. And then the letters are the same, the alif, the waw, and ya for both. The sign is the madda sign in both. And we've given example like as-sama and yudi on the attached med, and we've given an example on the separated such as aba ahadin or wafi anfusikum. In this lesson we've looked at 2 reasons for the secondary med caused by the hamza. We've looked at the attached med and we've looked at the separated med. We've then learned about the Tajweed rules related to each one of them, and we've taken examples on each. And that brings us to the end of this lesson on the secondary med due to hamza, where we have learned about the separated med and the attached med. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that bi'awnihi wa qudratihi, that the Quran learning management system, برنامج الجامع لحفظ كتاب الله, would help you, inshallah, to improve your tajweed and improve your tilawah and help you in improving your recitation and help you, if you want, in memorizing the Quran and to help you understand the Quran in the proper way. As we reach the end, we ask Al-Mawla Azza wa Jal أن يتقبل منا هذا العمل. We ask Allah Almighty to accept this work from us, and we ask you to make dua for those who participated in making this work come to life and reach you. Hoping you all the best. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.